This is the Bearface Bear-Bon, a Canadian whiskey that looks like it's trying to be bourbon, but when you dig deeper, it's not. And that's a good thing. It actually has access to something bourbon can't use. And that might be the whole point of this bottle for me. This is going to be a fresh crack, so let's get into it. Oh, that cork. All right. Let's have a look here. Oh, that's nice. Sweet corn. Very familiar bourbon adjacent. Vanilla, caramel. That classic bourbon profile is definitely there. But there's something underneath all of that. There's a maltiness coming through. Yeah. Something soft, slightly fruity. Yeah. Fruity like pears. It smells like bourbon, but not quite. This is from Bearface, part of the Mark Anthony group. And it's a blend of corn whiskey, malted barley, and rye. For me, the most interesting part is the Cask program, because Mark Anthony Group owns a number of wineries. More on that in a bit. You can jump to the end if you just want to go learn about it. But first, let's dive in. That sweet corn hits first too. No surprise there. Caramel, vanilla, very familiar. But like the nose, it starts to evolve. There's a graininess here. You get that malt again. There's definitely depth. There's a subtle fruitiness that carries through it, surprisingly. But a really sort of dense malt, like hay. Hay and rye starts to pull away from the bourbon, that rye spice on the back end. Really interesting. It starts like bourbon. It doesn't stay there. Yeah, definitely hay. So here's a real question. If this isn't trying to copy bourbon, what's it trying to replace? Because bourbon is defined by its rules. New charred oak, strict production, very specific profile. This doesn't have those limits. And that's the trade-off. This is 45.2% ABV, by the way. And the moment you step outside of those bourbon rules, you actually, in my opinion, open up way more possibility. But you also risk losing that identity if bourbon is what you're trying to sell. So this is where Bearface has a real edge, in my opinion. The Mark Anthony Group means direct access to wine casks. Not brokered, not stripped, cleaned, shipped across the world. Right here in Canada. A lot of distilleries are working with casks that have been emptied, washed, sometimes even broken apart and rebuilt. Bearface is getting them much closer to the source and preserving way more of that original cask character. So what are they using? We have French oak from the Okanagan, ex-wine barrels that were used for 3 vintages before the whiskey enters it. Unlike the regular Bearface whiskey, this one doesn't use Hungarian oak. And these ex-wine casks are hand-charred in Quebec. You definitely get that charring in there. It's that boldness. So you've got the seasoned French oak, the hand-charred barrels. It's a very different barrel than what bourbon is working with. And that's what separates this whiskey itself for me. Thinking about the finish here, that's still sort of lingering here. It's quite long. It starts sweet, then dries out into oak, a little bit of tannin, a little bit of spice lingering. It's clean, not overly heavy, but it's there, a nice subtle fade. The name for me is confusing. Sure, you're getting that bourbon style sweetness, bourbon, but with more layering underneath. The malt, the wine cask influence, it actually shows up and feels intentional. But that means if you're chasing classic bourbon, which for me is something like Maker's Mark, Wild Turkey 101, Four Roses Small Batch, it might miss the mark for you. This would be great with barbecue ribs, pulled pork, anything with a bit of sweetness and a little bit of char. Also works in a whiskey sour. Those softer wine-influenced notes I think would play really nicely there. I had a killer Boulevardier the other night with this too. Someone made it for me, not myself. And even something like aged cheddar leans into that oak and malt. I don't think Bearface Bear-Bon is trying to beat bourbon at its own game, which is a good thing. Instead, it changes the rules entirely. So, what do you think? Have you tried this one? Thanks for watching. See you soon.